On today's podcast, we talked to prospect Darnell Price, who is a former Marine, and he just turned pro at the end of last year, and under the guidance of championship trainer Vince Parra. And he will be fighting February 28th, this Friday, on Best in Boxing. Had a great conversation. We're just going to jump right in here and let you guys listen to him. Please listen all the way through. It's a great podcast. Darnell is a great guy. Cannot wait to meet him this Thursday at the weigh-in, and hope that you guys get as much out of it as I did, and follow him on social media and watch his career as he moves along in the professional ranks. So we got a fight we got a fight night this Friday, February 28th on Best in Boxing on Fight Hub, and I'm speaking to one of the fighters who will be on the fight card, Darnell Price. How you doing, Darnell?
Doing great, sir. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you coming on and talking with me, helping promote yourself as well as promote the fight coming up this week. One of the reasons I wanted to come on is I was talking to Vince. For those who don't know, Vince Parra is Darnell's trainer, and Vince had some amazing things to talk about you specifically, in the fact that you're a Marine, you were in the Golden Gloves championship. So I kind of want to take a step back before we talk about this Friday, and just talk about you and what brought you into boxing, especially coming from a Marine background and being able to still pursue the passion of boxing. Where did the love of boxing come from?
Well, it started when I was a kid. My father always loved boxing, but he was afraid to get hit, so he never took up the sport. Yeah. And I actually met Archie Moore's son, Billy, in San Diego.
Oh, nice.
From there, he brought me to the gym when I was 11 years old, and he would work with me here and there. I didn't take it too seriously as a kid. But then upon graduating high school with no other options or prospects at the time, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. And once there, I found out about the all-Marine boxing team, and I figured there'd be a way to finagle myself onto there. And I thought it'd be an enriching experience in life. And it turns out that I had the stuff to make it onto the team.
So how long had it been since you put the glove, since you laced up? Because you did it as a kid, but then all of a sudden you jump into it. Had it been a long time since you laced up?
It had been a while, because I trained off and on throughout high school. Okay. And then getting into the Marine Corps, I was deployed about 9 months in. So after going through boot camp and then my technical school, I was in Afghanistan. And from there, I was starting to evaluate what I wanted to do with the rest of my time in the Marine Corps, what I wanted to do with my life. And not pursuing boxing to my fullest was one of the things that I regretted, up to that point. Mm. So I figured I could delve back into boxing and get onto the all-Marine team.
How old were you at this point?
I enlisted when I was 17. At this point in time, I was 19, going on 20 when I got onto the all-Marine boxing team.
Oh, okay. So it had been a good stretch of time before you had actually gone into a training regimen like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how does that work when you deploy and you're on the boxing team? Does that just that obviously would take a back seat to deployment, or do you train?
You get onto the boxing team, you have permanent orders there.
Yeah.
And that means that you're stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, as part of Headquarters and Support Battalion, Alpha Company, and you're on the sports teams. That's where they have the wrestling team, the track team, other things like that in the Marine Corps. And at the time, that was where I was stationed. That's where we headquartered at, and that's where I did all the training. Mm-hmm. And it was like that for many other Marines that were on the team at the time. The team captain when I first got there was Jamel Herring.
Oh, wow.
30.
Hell yeah.
Amazing. Great guy. Awesome Marine. And that was all we did. That was our work. We traveled around the country competing, and we had to all strive to be ranked on the national level. And it was a great environment.
So the U.S. government paid for you to train full time, basically.
Yes, but
That's amazing.
the catch was we had to be really good.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you had to qualify. It wasn't just open for anybody.
Exactly. So there was a rigorous trial process, and then from there you had to maintain a winning record. You had to at least place in tournaments consistently in order to stay on there.
And do Marines fight other branches of the military, or do you guys actually fight civilians in tournaments?
We fight all over. So we had the All Armed Forces tournament, which is just the branches of the military, and then everybody that was on the boxing team in 2012 went to the Olympic reload that year. It was the nationals, but it was the secondary qualifying event to get to the Olympics that time around.
Yeah.
We all fought at a national level, and most of us were ranked at various points in time.
Oh wow, that's I'm actually learning a lot because I had no idea about all the not just boxing but all the other sports that were actually part of the Marines. I mean, you guys are your own separate unit of just boxers, right? And then
Yes.
each one of these other disciplines or sports, there are their own individual units, and you guys all lived together and traveled together and stayed together and basically were like any sports team.
Yes, sir. Because I think the Marine Corps saw it as a good recruitment opportunity, to show like the multi-faceted nature of military service.
Very cool. I was reading online that in you were there from 2011 to 2012. How did and then that was the team disbanded, and that's why you decided to go on your own?
Yes, the team was disbanded as of January 1st, 2013. The decision makers at headquarters Marine Corps decided they wanted to get rid of the team at that point in time, and they dispersed us all to different units. And it was then that I had to look within myself to see if it was something I still wanted to pursue, knowing it'd be a lonely road. And that's what I did at that point in time. I kept fighting, kept training. I actually did arguably better off of the team by myself than I did when I was on. I think it was the sense of urgency.
When you started off on your own, were you out of the Marines already?
No, I was still a Marine. I was a corporal when I first started. I picked up the rank of sergeant that year in 2013, and I would drive around North Carolina going to various club shows, and then I fought in the Golden Gloves that year. And it's weird in North Carolina because they don't have a great program for how the Golden Gloves progresses. So they go through North Carolina and Virginia, then they compete against the winners of DC, Maryland to get to the National Golden Gloves.
Oh, wow.
And in 2013, I had a pretty decent year. I ended up taking third at the National Golden Gloves after beating everybody on the local and regional level.
How long were you in the Marines, and then when did you? How old were you when you got out?
I was in from 2009 to 2019.
Yeah.
I got out in July of last year, July of 2019. And when I got out, I was 27. I turned 28 shortly after that.
Yeah, Vince said that he told me your age and the fact that basically you have a short window to get your career going here. How do you feel that pressure, or is it just something, you know what, it's just a number and you're good to go?
I think that in some ways there is a sense of urgency, but when it comes down to it, I think the path that I'm on, the trajectory that I'm going right now, I have an ability to make something of the time that I have. Right? I have the work ethic. It comes from being military minded and having that strict discipline that was embedded in me since I was 17 years old. And with like Vince in my corner, under his tutelage, he's taking my penchant for hard work and turning it into this amazing boxing ability.
That's great. That sounds like Vince. How did you meet Vince? How did you guys first hook up?
I met him kind of on a whim. So there's a gym out here, Pacific Training Center, PTC, one of the hoodies.
Yeah.
And it's ran by Eddie Roa, who I've known him since I was a kid. And upon coming back to San Diego after getting out of the military, I stopped by the gym, just kind of say hi, see what's up, see if there's anybody to spar with, and just kind of mess around. And Maurice Hooker was here training at the time, and Vince was training him, and I kind of just struck up a conversation with Vince, and between speaking with Eddie and Vince and whatnot, they started wanted to see if I wanted to fight still, and it was something that was on my heart and on my mind, and kind of clicked, over the first couple of conversations, and he started taking me under his wing a bit from there.
Vince is very upfront about the fact that he doesn't take, he gets offers all the time to train fighters, but he wants to keep his stable small so that he can concentrate on the athletes that he does have. And the fact that you were able to get under his wing and attract his attention so that he can put his time and effort into you says a lot about you, because I mean, look at all that he's accomplished in his short time in the sport, and what he's done for other athletes. So for you to get under his wing and be able to develop your skill set and hopefully take your boxing to a championship level and make a living on it, that says a lot about you and where you're at in your life. And one of the things he said to me about you was that he goes, you're one of the hardest workers that he's seen, which is all great characteristics for a future championship boxer.
I'm glad he speaks so highly of me.
Yeah.
I do work hard. It's the mentality that I kind of I garnered over the time that I was in the military. There was a lot of different deployments that I'd been on that allowed me to have, a greater view of the world and a greater understanding of myself in different situations, in austere environments, from being in Afghanistan, Iraq, Northern Africa, what have you. And just having a regimen, having a strict schedule, and having I would say, just adhering to timelines and being diligent is something that kind of keeps me sane in a way. So my work ethic is out of necessity as much as it is a benefit to fighting.
That's great. I'd like to take a step back if I could. Vince said that you were deployed multiple times into war zones, and that you've had to, and certainly you can stop me and say that you don't want to talk about this, but the reason I want to actually ask you about this is that I feel that through Best in Boxing and Global Sports Streaming, I want to be able to help other athletes get the exposure that they wouldn't get normally in the developmental stage that you're at and other fighters who are on the shows. But also I believe that I've seen so many kids overcome their struggles, so many athletes who've come out of poverty, who've come out of different situations in life, tough situations in life, to be able to better themselves through boxing. And the fact that you were deployed, and he said that you've had to deal with PTSD, and the possibility that boxing helps you deal with that. I would love for you to speak about that so that other people who have issues, knowing allow them to know the possibility of training and training their body, focusing their mind, and doing everything that you have to do in order to be good at boxing, helps you in your development, would help them in their development. You can uniquely speak about that from all that you've been through as a Marine.
Yeah. Start by saying that everybody's struggles are different, and everything that people go through, whether it be on a deployment or just in their daily walk, is equally as important. It's equally as trying, equally as troubling. But going through multiple deployments, being overseas 5 times, 3 combat deployments, it did weigh heavy on my heart. Not only the time spent away from family, but actions taken overseas. And one thing that always reigned true was that diligence and discipline that it takes to be a great fighter is the exact same diligence and discipline you need to exercise to have a great life. Mm-hmm. You have to make sure that you have an end state, you have a focus, you have a goal, So as things got tumultuous, as things got difficult, as stuff started weighing on my heart and on my mind, whenever I had a clear focus and a way ahead, a defined end state, and I was able to work towards that, I always did far better than when I was attempting to wander around, going from thing to thing, from place to place, attempting to find some sort of happiness. Whenever you live simply and you live with a clear goal, it always makes things a little bit easier. So in terms of PTSD, I have it from various occurrences overseas and early in life, and boxing has helped. I think anything that provides the same cathartic release as training hard and working towards something will help. I think that boxing is unique in the way where you have to not only do everything repetitively, perfectly, for elongated periods of time, you have to have the wherewithal to, when the plan changes or something deviates in your standard operating procedure, so to speak, that you improvise, you adapt, and overcome, as is the way of the military, and as is the way in the ring. And I can say honestly and truly that having discipline helps the mind. It helps the mind. It helps you get up in the morning, doing simple tasks like making your bed, having a routine, and boxing is a routine.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
It helps.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's a great message to send out to anybody who's struggling and looking for discipline. Not even someone who wants to be in the professional ranks, but just knowing the discipline involved, even on an amateur level, to be able to focus and to clear the mind, to be able to adjust, and the discipline behind it. I feel like it's one of those sports, because it's a solo sport in that ring, that it is one of the best ways to sharpen the mind, not only the mind, but the body as well. So I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. Let's jump forward. We got you've got to step in the ring on this Friday coming up. How did you? Let's go back, because you had your debut last year on Best in Boxing. How did that first ring walk feel?
It was nerve-wracking, because I put all my eggs in one basket. One thing Vince always tells me is, you got to give yourself to the sport. And I literally, to train out here, I drove cross country with two of my children, and we just got after the journey. So it was kind of a culminating event to the initial training that I put into this career path. So I was nervous. It shows in how I was fighting. I got a little bit ahead of myself, kind of running after my opponent and whatnot. And I knew he was afraid of me, but I couldn't get him out of there in a timely fashion like I had anticipated. That being said, lessons were learned, and I've refined, my ethos and my ideology when it comes to being in the ring, and I'm excited to keep progressing. But that was not my best nor my worst performance in a ring.
So taking that forward, this will be your fourth fight coming up. How did you improve on that mindset for your other two fights?
It's interesting. My second fight, I fought down in Louisiana against a great athlete. His name's Purcell Webster. He's about 6'6", long as anything, really strong, and he came in a little over the weight that was agreed upon. So it ended up being a heavyweight bout. And he was bigger and stronger. He's 5 inches taller than me, a greater wingspan. And from there, it was just diligence and tenacity that got me that win. It was listening to Vince and Eddie, who were in my corner, and just like taking up on their cues and just kind of marching forward, as I know how to do. Keep walking forward, keep the pressure, stay in his chest, because he's that much bigger than me. And then my last fight, which was in December, it was it was against somebody that was a little bit more seasoned. He had about 30 some odd fights, and it was awkward. We're both southpaws, and it was kind of difficult for me to get shots off in the way that I wanted to, but I was able to keep him at bay with my jab, and I learned a lot about timing during that fight. So I feel like I learned 3 great lessons in those 3 fights. I learned not to be anxious in the first one, and to settle down and let my hands go. And the second fight, I learned to keep marching forward, and that I can apply pressure, clean, effective pressure, when I need to. In the last fight, I realized, hey, I have a great jab, and if I stay behind it and I use my timing and I use my punches to maximum efficacy, then I can get people out there a little bit quicker. So going into this fight, I want to apply the lessons that I've learned in the first 3 and just keep improving.
Great. Looking forward to seeing it. What do you feel your best weapon is? Is it the jab, or is it something else? Or you're still figuring it out?
I would say I'm really fast off the jab, and my left is deadly. My overhand left is murderous. So if I can lull somebody into a false insecurity, let them think I'm not as strong as I actually am.
Yeah.
I know that as soon as I touch them, they'll be worried.
Nice. Hey, it's nice to have those weapons, right? Especially coming off the jab. I mean, it's to me, especially with this current generation of boxers, compared to past generations, the jab seems to be a lost art. Because if you look at older generations, past generations, the jab, I mean, it's the fundamentals of boxing, right? And that's one of the things, that I like about Vince, is that everything comes off the jab. And if you look at, even though all of the fighters that he's had are completely different fighters, or different styles, they all have a strong jab.
Oh yeah, and that is the way. That is the way. Vince teaches it great. I mean, you see from Maurice Hooker, and then you see from Manny Ray Rojas, a great fighter, Dallas. It's that same. Hey, you establish the jab, and then every time, no matter what happens, you close the door. Whenever you walk out, you close the door. So it's you're jabbing in. You execute your shots, you get them off, and however you can, whichever way. Never too greedy. Take what's given to you, and then close the door. Throw that jab, finish it off, and then keep the center and keep moving. So it's great. I love learning from Vince. I love learning that from him, because my style beforehand was a little haphazard.
That's great. So tell everybody where they can find you on social media. We'll put this up, and I want to make sure people are able to follow your career. One of the things that we try to do, or not just try, but are doing with this, is that I want to be able to not only allow people to see the fights, but to also find fighters that they want to share the journey with. And so I'm hoping that through these interviews and through people watching you fight, that you'll start to grow that fan base and find people people will find you and be like, I want to watch this guy develop and see how far you can go with this. And that's so let people know where they can find you, where they can follow.
Most definitely. So on Instagram, it's at @theultimateprice_, and on Snapchat, it's Ty Ultimate Price. It's TY Ultimate Price, and Facebook page is coming soon. I haven't had one of those yet. I'm kind of new to the social media game.
Nice.
As being in the military and being forward deployed at all times. For the last 4 years of my career, I had kind of missed a lot of.
You missed all the social media stuff. Well, I look forward to meeting you in person. I know you were at the fight last time, but I didn't get the chance to meet you. Look forward to meeting you in person, and then getting to watch you fight again. I'm really looking forward to it, and I really hope that we have a large audience this time so they can check you out, for sure.
Indeed, I appreciate that, sir. I look forward to meeting you as well.
All right, so I will see you Thursday at the weigh-in.
Yes, you will. I'll be there. I'll be on weight, ready to rock.
Nice. Okay. Thanks again, Darnell. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Bye.